Today we're talking with Danco Satirovski,
Yes.
who is
Hello.
and by the way, what's your title? I know we've talked for a while. What's your formal title with the company?
CEO,
CEO and founder.
CEO and founder of Very United LLC,
Very United LLC, a media company, right?
a media company.
Yeah.
Correct.
So thank you very much for taking the time to do this. We really appreciate it. This is what makes the class go, our association with real practicing entrepreneurs.
Thank you. Yeah. It's an honor, really, David. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of it.
Where are you today? Where are you sitting?
I'm sitting at 8 Mile and 75
Okay.
right now is where I live, actually, is in Hazel Park.
Okay, so you're right there in the D.
Oh, yeah. I'm right in the heart of some of the rougher neighborhoods, actually, up on around 8 Mile.
Yeah, I know that area.
Mm-hmm.
So how are things going today?
Great. We, every day we try to produce content, right? And today we produced 2 hours of content, 1.5 hours of Ask the Neighbor, and a half an hour of Very Detroit Radio,
Okay.
where we interviewed Sofa Stories Detroit, where they're having a couple different events this weekend, is on Saturday and Sunday, where they're going to be in the Southwest sharing stories of homeless youth. And then on Sunday, they're going to be at the congregation. They actually pull up a sofa, if you can imagine, and that's where you tell your story. It's outside, it's socially distanced. And so I love nonprofits like that are actually making change on the ground in our city.
Yeah.
I love it, sharing their story, trying to get them more exposure.
All right. Yeah. So we're gonna talk about the business a lot here, but before we get into that, I just want to get an idea of we've known each other for about 1.5 years now. Right. I don't think I ever knew your personal story. Can you just give us your personal background?
Well, I grew up in Hamtramck. I was an immigrant. The story goes like this. I was born in Macedonia. I started walking in Rome, and I started talking in Detroit. So my dad we came here because my uncle was here in the auto industry, kind of brought us here. My father ended up working for the big three, and my mom started working at Kowalski, and I grew up in Hamtramck.
Okay.
And so through that, then we pushed our way.
Kowalski, the sausage company? Okay, I remember those Kowalski ring sausages we used to eat.
Oh yeah, Kowalski Sausage they had stores and everything around the area in the time, but a couple different sausage companies came out of Hamtramck because there was a large Polish community there, and that's where my parents worked. And then they always talked about education, and they always talked about starting your own business too. So I think that conversation drove me to pursue that. And I studied economics at Western Michigan University and was involved with lots of different sales positions, management positions. And there was a time where I was a VP of marketing for about 6 or 7 different firms that were industrial companies. And I was running their whole marketing program. And we did great. We were jamming, And then all of a sudden there was the owner of, not the owner, but the president, I guess, felt threatened by the success of the marketing department, which I was leading, and asked me to resign out of nowhere, so it kind of propelled my entrepreneurial push even more because.
What company was this?
This is Monroe Engineering. And we created a group of companies called the 360 Group. We were an industrial distribution group. So we would buy, rebrand, and then I would put all search engine optimization, redo the websites, and then we were getting leads all day long. And then I created a hinge company for them called Monroe Hinge, where we did the same tactics, created a sales funnel, lead generation, and then the phone started to ring. And the company, when last I checked, was doing like 20, 30 million in sales of that company. I left when I was let go from that company. I joined another company, a real estate development company, which was developing a RV resort up in Port Sanilac, where I headed up all the marketing and the development of that project. It was about a 450 unit RV resort with its own sewage treatment plant, all of its own utilities that were coming from the ground, and distributing the electrical with an electrical substation as well. And then we connected up all the marketing, and they did really, really well because of the marketing and the online stuff that we had done pre-opening. And it went really well, but the economy kind of tanked in 08, 09, and we opened the park in 07. And so people, were starting to sell their RVs. They were starting to get rid of their secondary things, less trips and whatnot. And then, but we were focused on development. So we were actually developing another project in Gulfport, Mississippi, in a condo project there after Katrina. They were in need of some condos. And then we were also positioned in possibly 2 casino ventures in Biloxi when everything moved to the land there as well. So again, it's my marketing entrepreneurship has been, kind of my driver all the way through my whole life.
So what motivated you to get into this arena? How did you get into this whole media business, and how long have you been at this?
Well, it was around 2009. I started working on a concept called a community incubator in downtown Pontiac. And so much like Space Labs, but we were located on Main Street on Saginaw, and we were looking to help people to kick off businesses in downtown Pontiac.
But by the way, the students don't know right now about Space Lab. It's a co-working space in downtown Detroit.
Right. Yeah. Yes, very much in line with Space Labs. Is a lot nicer than my place was, but it's a co-working space where people can gather and group together. We were doing events, and we were collaborating with different people in media and in film at the time. So that kind of started my thinking of that, how much power media holds in the marketplace. And then this concept kind of fizzled out in downtown Pontiac. And then I took a little time off, and I started to think of how am I going to be relevant in Detroit as it starts to change? So, I'm not going to be the mayor of Detroit. I'm not really that guy. But how can I stay relevant and be in a position where I can really be of help to the community? And so I started to really think of what is it that we could do? How can we connect the dots? How can we connect the resources so that they're accessible to people when they want to do something in Detroit? Be it go out, be it, find resources in real estate, be it find marketing opportunities. And so that's when I started to piece together this concept of Very Detroit. And originally it was this like fold out piece that, had QR codes, and it was one piece of paper and whatnot. And I started to see how I could use QR codes to access media and then share that information. And then slowly we started to build out the framework of what Very Detroit is now, a digital guidance system and access to local media on demand. So it was nothing like I envisioned originally. It really came to become something much, much better, I think, and bigger and more condensed version. And the idea was, how can we be of service and of help to the community where maybe they don't have a a normal computer in their home. Maybe they don't, maybe they just have a mobile phone, but they want to access information. And so I started to see that, you could do this through our mobile phones, that where we were sharing information like psychotherapy type stuff, where we were interviewing different people. And I felt like that's a big benefit to the community. If I can access programs that are self-help programs through our mobile magazine, that we could start to give access to people, and then they could come through there and see what other people are doing, thereby helping them to maybe do that themselves.
Mhm.
That was the concept.
So what would you say, I know you've alluded to it, but what would you say the need you're addressing in the community is? What did you see in the community that wasn't being addressed, that you wanted to address with this business?
Efficient access to information, right? Right now, if you try to access, let's say we want to go to an event, right? Or we want to go find something in Detroit to do or to eat. It's really challenging, I think, to do that. You have to go to multiple places to actually, and then you don't know which one to actually believe. Are they paid? Are they not paid? So if you go to the Metro Times and try to look for music, you're bombarded by advertisement. You can't get to the information. So I wanted a simple, clean way that we could access resources, entertainment and or business resources, that anyone in the community could access. And then we wanted to tell the stories of people that are being successful in industries, thereby a QR code linking to our weekly media and accessing our library of media of local entrepreneurs and nonprofits that are exactly the resources that I feel the community could use. We're talking to urban farms. We've talked to different, even media companies that are sharing information, podcasts and whatnot, but they're not so easily accessible. You got to really almost dig really hard to find it.
Mm.
And if you're a younger person or maybe haven't been in business before, it might be kind of challenging to get to that information. So we wanted to have a simple, open, free platform that you could access through, a simple mobile phone that you could buy at Walmart's or wherever, to access self-help information, access entrepreneurial information, and then access resources whereby people could start a business, or people could maybe hear somebody that was an entrepreneur that went through something that they might be doing, and maybe spark an idea for someone.
Mm-hmm. So again, how long have you been at this? How long have you had this product out there?
We've had this product, we began October 19th. Our media company was our first radio show. But around 2017 was when I started to think about where we're going with it. We started interviewing people with video under Very Detroit in 2017.
Mm-hmm. And who would you say, I mean, there's a lot of different groups and a lot of different people in Detroit. There's a lot of different media. But who would you say your target audience is? Who have you gotten the most resonance from, with this product?
Well, I feel like we have worked a lot with the younger, kind of like 20 to 30 something year olds, where they're looking to make a difference and they don't want to go down the path of their parents in working in a place that they hated for 30 years, trying to make their own way. And it's interesting because this generation is looking at things differently than what we did when we went to college. The 80s and 90s were talking about greed and talking about taking everything for yourself. This generation is more interested in community and experiences and helping each other out, I feel. And it doesn't matter if you're black or white. In our city of Detroit, I feel like we've got an awesome relationship between all of the different people in our city. And that's what makes it more more interesting than some other cities. I think there's a bigger divide. And in our city, you know, I think we've seen so many tough times that it doesn't matter if you're Mexican, Macedonian, Black, Bangladeshi, you know what I mean? We're in
Yeah.
this struggle together here in Detroit.
Yeah.
So that's my target. I hope I answered that properly. I feel like it's mostly between the 20 to 30-year-olds that are what they call the hipsters, I guess. You know, like we've interviewed people like Pingree was a company we interviewed, but they work and they had some bad press, but they started off, you know, trying to help veterans get work and using material from repurposed car leather to make products.
Mm-hmm.
And so their business model, they were a young group of guys, they were helping veterans. And I think that's the kind of people we like to share. We're basically sharing the successes of other companies and other businesses. And we love to share the artistic part about Detroit because, you know, muralists have been on our shows and we love to share that information because art and community are almost, in my mind, one. And that's important, I think, too. So the artists in our community, you know, stimulate thought for our entrepreneurs and make a cohesive place to gather and coming up with ideas and whatnot. So, you know, you might see a gathering have somebody with like a hot dog stand that they've been in business with for a little while. And that's a matter of fact, I was at the Michael Jackson birthday party at the Motown Museum a couple weeks ago. And there was a guy with a hot dog stand called Top Dog. And he started his business, him and his wife, in Detroit. And they started off with one hot dog cart, you know, and now they've got 3 hot dog carts and a location in the New Center area.
So I'm going to come back to the product in a minute because I want the students to have a clear idea of what the product is. But the other thing I encourage them to focus on is to look at with any business that they encounter is how does the business make money? How do you make money with Very United or Very Detroit?
Yeah, and that's, you know, we've been challenged with that, David, since we started, because a media company has to have enough traction, right, to get the support. Because ultimately, our business model has been sponsors that support our project and advertisers that want the exposure.
Okay.
So we've been trying to grow our exposure via our web presence, our social media follows and likes. You know, when we started, you know, we had like, you know, 50 likes, right, on our media company. Now we're over 2,200 with Very Detroit. And still, that might not sound like a ton, but that's quite a few people, and they're mostly social influencers that we have. You know, I think our next catapult will bring us into the 10, 20,000 range and 30, 40,000 range. And also, you know, trying to take our money that we've made has been barely covering our expenses, right? In order to get us to the next level, we're going to need to invest more into our own marketing is our next phase, whereby, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So you have sponsors on the one hand who sponsor the content, and you make it known that they are sponsors of that content.
Yes.
And you have advertisers as well for particular media items.
Right.
So what are the so, you know, we would consider the sponsors and advertisers to be customers of yours as well, right?
Right. Yes.
So what are they looking for? What need are you satisfying for them? And you know.
Well, that's great. I mean, that's a good question because from a sponsorship perspective, in the Ann Arbor product, we had the most success with sponsorships in Ann Arbor because they believed in what we were doing and interviewing, like the social justice piece of our product. And the underlying part about all this is, where is the social justice trying to give fairness to the community and accessibility to the community? And so the sponsors, I think, like to tie in their brand to, especially like they weren't sure how to approach the Black Lives Matter problem or issue. And so we got sponsors in Ann Arbor because they felt like they could be closer to that message in a way. So from a sponsorship perspective, I think, when we can attach to a social cause, sponsors will come on board because they don't know how to mesh with it otherwise. Like, if you're a dealership, how do you address Black Lives Matter properly? But they could do that via sponsoring our product, because we're interviewing, we interviewed the mayor that was in the Black Lives Matter march. We interviewed the organizers in Ann Arbor with the Black Lives Matter march. And so that was how we got sponsors. And then the local community, when, really want to support local products. So advertisers we've had and have, from restaurants to service providers like, health insurance brokers and different people that want to get the exposure. As we grow, our ads are easier to sell.
Okay. So how do you access these sponsors and these advertisers?
Okay.
Do you have to, you go out and pound the street to connect with these people?
Well, that's one way to do it, right? And I think you always have to go out and try to find, as an entrepreneur, you're constantly trying to sell, right? I mean, I feel like you have to be out there selling, almost all the time. Like, I had my tire popped on me. I needed a new rim, and I went to the junkyard not far from me, the auto parts place, and I mentioned, he was so good to me. I said, we mentioned you on the radio. He's like, thanks. And then he gave me a rim, so it was pretty cool, but like, we're constantly telling people what we're talking about. And what's been super interesting to me is we started our project in 2018, and what the feedback was from some of the artist community and stuff, they're like, WDET doesn't do any music anymore, and they don't have this and they don't do that. And I feel like if we've done anything, is we've brought people to light and issues to light that media was ignoring. Local, real people that we were interviewing that they weren't touching. We were talking, and I guess it's flattering to me because I look at WDET's programming now, and it sounds like they took my concept and they're expanding it. And it's great because we need more people to support the local, real stuff. Like, they're talking to local artists now, and they've got a whole series on art. They're talking to urban farmers and gardening people that now, are focused in on that. So and music they've brought back into their system now, right? I feel like if we did anything, is we propelled other media to get serious about local media.
Yeah, so there is this trend in media, as I'm sure you're aware, that things are getting more and more national and international, and then on the local level, if it bleeds, it leads, and people aren't talking about things that are constructive for the community. So I sense that that's the area that you're trying to address.
Well, the challenge, David, with being a local media company is the sales dollars to keep it afloat, right? Because a small business would be the guy that would support you, but in downtimes and in rough hit communities, it's going to be tough to get money from a shoe repair guy that's going to generate enough money for you to stay afloat. So that's where I think sponsorship comes into play. And our model's not perfect, but I feel like we have definitely going down the right path.
Yeah. Now you're also trying to execute your model in multiple communities. So to be multi-local, right? So
Multi-local.
is that a way of getting at that same issue
Well,
as well?
it's interesting because you look at the opportunities are so different in each community. And at first, I thought we'd be interviewing the same kind of people, right? This person, that person as a formula. But each community is so different that it's enlightening, actually, to see the differences in communities. Like in Chicago, we've got, and it's just baby steps. Like we started here in Detroit, where we've got a guy out there. He's interested in working with us. He started finding some people to interview. We've got our product slowly going out there. And similarly in Ann Arbor, we've got our product out there, but it's not heavy at the moment, but we're still producing media. We still got our product out there. And it's interesting when you've got multi-markets, not to say that they're generating really revenue for us at the moment, but I see them as potentially great avenues for us to bring in revenue.
Mm-hmm. All right. So just so we can be clear about the product, so you're providing local information about the local community and resources and happenings in the local community to these 20 and 30 something people, and you're using a ad and sponsor supported model to
Yes, a hybrid.
to pay for that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a hybrid. And I want to share this, and I don't know if we can see that clearly, but this is my product, Very Detroit. It's a scannable mobile magazine where you can scan art, food, music, style, and movement around the city. And when you flip it over, we break down the city into quadrants, and then you can access media here, video, audio. This brings us to the front page. And then these are daily deals.
And so this is something that the users would have, the people out in the community. How do they get that?
Well, we've been passing them around for 3 years now to people, and we put them in different places around the city. This is interesting because for some people, it's a great way for us to brand, and it's something you can put in your pocket and access. And this QR code will work in November, December, January, whenever.
Yeah.
And environmentally, I feel like our product is superior as well because you don't have to keep producing new product.
But the content changes.
The content changes.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if once you have one of these, you could use it theoretically for the rest of your life.
Okay. Yeah. So so that gives us a good idea, at least a starting idea as to what the business is and what the product is. You told us, what the revenue model is. So what do you spend? Let me back up for a second. So who else is involved in this enterprise? You're the CEO. What's the team look like?
Well, we have a very small team. We have a small team that's all virtual, especially since COVID. And to be completely honest, it's been tough because people have had to leave to go other places to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so my team, we've got like 2-3 people. One is my web guy that updates the content. I've got my studio where my producer is at, where we're producing radio, audio content. And then I have another person that handles my emailing and more technical stuff when it comes to web execution.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a super part-time person working on social media for me.
And so I would imagine then that if you, in terms of the activities that you spend your time on, it sounds like a lot of it is content generation.
Yes.
And you alluded to before, you're always selling.
Absolutely.
So selling ads, selling sponsorships, that sort of thing.
Yes. And, like it is a constant, what we're doing is the conversation opens up doors for the talk with sponsors and the talk with advertisers.
Hmm.
And, I studied economics, but nobody ever really I think we weren't really taught how powerful media is. And once media controls a certain market, you're almost like there's only a few places to go that are really media that you can advertise through, that you can trust, that you believe in them. And once you solidify yourself as that media company, you create a lot of value over time.
Hmm.
Unlike almost any other industry, it's so different than almost any, because if you're a manufacturer, right, what you got to do, right? It's cut and dry a lot of times that, if I make so many of these parts, I've got this many orders, and this is what the guy wants, I'm going to make X amount of profit.
Hmm.
Where in media, you're trying to be creative and creating in generating the content that's going to engage sponsors and advertisers and the traction. So I think our brand is a big piece of who we are, because it resonates the message of what we're trying to do. Like, we're very Detroit because, we care about our city. We're working with people that are all in Detroit, right? Very Detroit.
Yeah.
And when we say that to somebody, like I remember walking into one of the hotels in the city and I'm like, hey, I want to put this on your desk. If we can, when people come into the city, they can access our things. And he's like, what is that? I go, it's very Detroit. He's like, I'm very Detroit. So like, it rolls off the tongue. It's part
Yeah.
of, I think, who we are. And our company, Very United, I believe that brand stands with who we are as we grow, to share this united message that we are creating here in Detroit.
Hmm. Okay. Now, you also, I'm familiar with the fact that you're doing some radio shows and things too. So how does that, I mean, you got the web information, the
Mhm.
websites, but how does the radio shows dovetail with that?
Well, it's interesting because we're, for instance, we will do a radio show when my sweet spot of who I like to interview are artists, nonprofits, and or entrepreneurs that, I think are doing a great job and have, a good story to tell, right? We avoid all the big guys. We haven't interviewed anybody really big. We try to stay super low into the people on the ground doing the work.
Hmm.
So our radio shows are incorporated into our card, and we share that we share it on social media, and we share it through the people that we've touched on our radio show. So imagine when I interview somebody, like we interviewed Pleasant Trees today, which is a dispensary in Hamtramck.
Hmm.
Theoretically, they would take that content and share it in all of their social networks, right? Thereby bringing more followers and more likes into our media.
Hmm.
So every time we interview somebody, we grow.
Hmm. So these radio shows are not only, you interviewed me on a couple of your radio
Yeah.
shows.
Oh,
They were
yeah.
actually on the radio, but you're also streaming those shows in non-real time, and that's available through the card. Is that
Right.
how it works?
Yes. You can
Okay.
access the library, or you can go to the current show at the time if you are hitting it at the right time.
Okay.
Our long-term vision is to collect local media like this around the country and put it in a pipeline for a channel called Very United
Mm.
that people can access.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Um, so let's see. I had a brain freeze there for
That's
a
okay.
minute.
Did I answer that question completely though, David, on the last, how the radio show and how it incorporates to our mission?
Yes. Yes.
I hope I answered that
Yep.
properly.
Yeah. So what would you say, uh, just thinking in terms of, your background, your skill set, your team, what makes you unique? What are the key, what do you bring to the table that, other outfits out there aren't bringing, or what resources do you have that others may not share?
One thing we have is I believe we've got a really strong brand. We own multiple .coms that are in the very product line, like very Chicago, very Miami, very Nashville, very Denver, very Miami, and a few others like very Tokyo, very Rome. And I think that's a big strength of ours that sets us apart. That brand itself, I think, has a message behind it. Also, our product, like to launch a magazine normally in the old days, it would cost you $20,000 to print all these pages and all this stuff, and then fill it with ads and do all these things. We can open up a market in the thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So efficiency and expansion is, I think, really where we're strong at.
Mm-hmm.
So branding, and access to media, accessing the resources. So when somebody goes to verydetroit.com, even if they don't have the card, they can go to all the different resources that you can access through the card, very simply. So I think our user interface is super simple, and I believe that people want that kind of an interface.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to other media companies now, you're trying to shuffle through their content that they're trying to push down your pipe. And I feel like we're letting the users, we're trying to make it best for the user.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what about community connections and community cred? Do you see that as a key
oh yeah,
competency?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of people that have tried to do something in Detroit, and it's obvious when you're not there. You're not at events, you're not supporting, you're not talking to people, you're not, intermingling, you're not there, you don't care if you're not there, right?
Yeah.
So you got to be a part of the community, I think, from a real belief in that this is something you believe in. Mm-hmm. And you want that connection to happen. Otherwise, people can tell when NBC now all of a sudden wants to interview somebody super local, and we care a lot about, well, you were out for 30 years, you weren't in the city. You know what I mean? We know that.
Yeah.
We see that you weren't in Detroit for 30 years. But we still, I can appreciate their value, because they've taken people we've interviewed that were just climbing up, mm-hmm. and took them on to a bigger stage, and I think that's kind of a great thing that we can do for entrepreneurs and nonprofits, that mm-hmm. give them exposure so that they can come to a little bit higher media.
Yeah.
And more exposure, more success, more donations, more people engaging.
Well, as an aside, I see a use for this card, and I want to get some of these magazines, these cards, to my students.
Okay, good.
Every year I'm trying to encourage them to, I tell them, if you want to work in the city, you have to engage in the city, you have to immerse yourself in the city, right? And I could see having something like this as aimed at the student community, students who are coming into Wayne State, or University of Michigan or Michigan State, who want to come to the city. And now you have one place you can just aim your phone at for the different categories and see what's happening on a. So I
want to note this too. This concept I came up with pre-COVID. So COVID actually propelled the use of QR codes, mm-hmm. which would have taken us maybe 10 years to 2 months, right?
Yeah.
It really shifted a lot of things in our favor, I believe, because we were sitting here with this product in 2018, mm-hmm. and people were, older people were looking at me like, I don't even know what this is, right?
Yeah.
Where younger people would be like, wow, that's dope. You know what I mean? And that's our clientele.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about the revenues. The main revenue sources are the the sponsorships and ads. And again, do the users pay anything? The
No,
people who are consuming it, so they don't have to pay anything. Now,
nothing.
on the cost side, what are the main costs associated with your business?
I mean, costs are obviously, we don't have office space now. That's not a cost. Everything went virtual.
Hmm.
Our main costs are media production and creating the media, which producing the media, setting up the people to interview, which takes hours. Actually, then converting the media into an online product, right? So graphics, the main pieces that you would to expose a new show. So I've got graphic costs. I've got some print costs, but not heavy. Like these don't take a lot to produce.
Hmm.
I can make a lot of these for not too much money.
Yeah.
So, like for example, I can make I think 5,000 of these for somewhere around $500.
Hmm.
So
Will that
that's,
fit in your wallet? Is that like credit card size?
yeah, it fits right in your wallet,
Okay.
and put it in your pocket or here, and it's like, well, honey, let's go check out some, food, and then we give you, the recommendation of the week for
Mm,
food.
mm.
So, and like the band of the week that we might want, to sell or tell about.
Yeah.
But what's so super interesting to me is that there's so much possibility of revenue generation down the line because of our categories and the like the food sector, for example, or the music sector. We like to promote local music, and over time we start to become ingrained in the music scene, and possibly maybe we make our own release of an album, right? Of
Mm,
things that people that have been connected to us. Now, we've got a leg into the music industry,
mhm.
and the art industry, in the food industry. So then, when you go to Very United and you click on art, now you can choose to go to Chicago, Ann Arbor, or Detroit's art. So you're going by sector of art, or you can go by city and then go to the art section, right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I think over time, when you connect all those cities with art, it's kind of like, oh, I like art, and so I can check out all the different pieces around the whole country. And then
Mhm.
maybe art dealers will want to advertise with us that's in, Naples, Florida, because we've got so much activity in our art section,
Mhm.
or other magazines might want to connect with us.
Well, I guess the other thing you could do is with the categories, you could use the location information on your phone and
Right.
change what people see based on where they are.
Absolutely. And what's great is on the back end, this QR code stays the same, right? But if you clicked on it 1 minute ago, I could change its direction in a second. It can go somewhere else. So we can keep this changing all the time on the back end, even though that scan is the same.
Mhm.
That's kind of interesting to me.
Yeah. So what who are your partners in this aside from your sponsors? Do you have any other partners that help make this thing work?
No, I've been financing it myself, and through, like I said, the advertisers and sponsors. That's it. I'm 100% owner of this project.
But in terms of municipalities or other entities that
Oh,
uh,
partner wise,
yeah, yeah,
oh,
yeah,
that are helping us out.
yeah.
Like in Ann Arbor, we've got Main Street Ann Arbor is helping us get guests in Ann Arbor, and they've done a great job. Just and what's interesting is when you set up that model correctly, costs of producing your media decrease, because
Hmm.
when you connect with that expert, like she wants to help the businesses in Ann Arbor be on the radio, right, and be connected to our media. So that's using outside resources to produce our media. Now, I don't need a production person in Ann Arbor. I have her helping me, and it's part of her job anyway to do that.
Okay.
That's a good partner that I like to say. I mean,
Yeah.
we would love to partner more with like the community foundation on a national level. I believe that the community foundation, and we've reached out to the community foundation when we needed nonprofits to interview, and they've been more than happy to supply us with people that they've helped. And I believe that's a great model. And if we can approach that from a bigger perspective, we can have just a really nice flow of resources coming in from that way. Those are some partners. Does that answer you properly?
Yeah, that's the kind of thing I'm thinking about. Other entities who have an interest in working with you because they benefit from what you're doing, and you benefit from their help.
And like the Ann Arbor Chamber is another example that we worked with in Ann Arbor. They did a trade with us. Other media companies that you may think are competitors of ours end up not being competitors because like for instance, we're working with Joanne Buford. He's got a product that's called Next Op Social, which is a podcast, but we're working with him, and he's also got a magazine in Detroit, like a newspaper magazine. But we feel like we will benefit more from him being connected to us than us not being connected.
Okay. So you outlined some of the ways that you are using, technology in this business. Obviously, the mobile phone and the QR code thing, that's a key technology. Any other key technologies that make this thing work?
No, I mean, the mobile phone can do it all, really. Purposely, we've got a real simple website that, when people look at it and are like, well, it doesn't, it's not, all these things aren't moving. It's not doing all these other things. I go, have you looked at Craigslist? Craigslist did it in a simple way for the user to access. Very easily to access the information, respecting the user so that user will come back knowing I'm not going to be bombarded by this or bombarded by that.
Yeah.
And people are trying to pull away from like signing up for everything. You know what I mean? Like, I hate when I go to a website and the first thing is like they're pounding me for an email address. I mean, I'm just trying to get a little information. Maybe I'll give you my email down the road, but I don't know what you are yet. So I'm not going to give my email to you yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's, that's what we're trying to do, is really make a efficient, fast system so that when I scan that button, it goes right to the information. We're concerned about how efficient we are for our users. That's my main concern. Are you going to our website and can you get into information quickly and easily without being offended?
Yeah.
We can find, we can make this really complex where you got to make an application, you got to download the app.
Yeah.
But, I look at the model of GoDaddy, where GoDaddy had an application, and I'm a big user of, I own like 150.com domain names. But, and so GoDaddy said, we're stopping our application. We're going right to the web, which is what our product is. So they made a mobile version of their website and they eliminated their application.
Yeah.
And I think that's a growing trend because people are like, well, you should make an app. I'm like, no, I don't want to make an app, because an app, that's a barrier to entry for some.
You
Not
want
for
it
all.
to be as broad as possible, broadly accessible as possible.
Yes.
And, that's probably something that goes with an urban community where you have a whole range of people, right? You're not aiming at the elite.
Exactly. I'm not aiming at the iPhone user that has unlimited storage and unlimited this. I'm aiming at the guy that's got a $20 phone that his kid needs to access information and maybe could help him with one of our talks that we have on here. That he might be sitting in his room and he doesn't know what to do, and he scans this and he sees one of our conversations or hears something that we talked about and makes him, not do something bad, makes him go do something good.
Yeah. So I know that, as a business person, you're constantly in the trenches and you're always, battling, trying to move things ahead. But
Right.
stepping out of the trench for a minute, what do you see as what excites you in terms of the opportunities looking forward
Oh,
for this
Dave,
business?
David, I got to tell you, I mean, like, I look back in the last 2.5 years that we've been doing this project, and it's been an honor to do this work. You know, I've been able to talk to people and ask them questions and connect with people that I would have never been able to do in another business.
Hmm.
Like I had friends talking to me when Detroit's on the rise and all this. They're like, well, I want to open a restaurant, I want to do a bar, I'm like, well, I can't. What business could I do because I'm interested in everything, right? I
Yeah.
want to know how all the pieces work together, how it all connects. And that's what's exciting to me is we get to talk to everybody. We're in everybody's business and we get to help everybody,
Hmm.
be it a small business, a small community, urban farm, a small nonprofit that's just starting up. We get to do that. And that's honorable work to me. You know what I mean? That's really honorable work.
And
That excites me.
okay, and you get to know what's going on in all aspects of the community.
Yeah, and then when you walk in somewhere, they're like, "Oh, you're from Barry, Detroit. Come on in. Thank you for interviewing us, and thank you. They're very thankful for what we do,
Mm-hmm.
giving them some exposure, trying to help them out. So it's just a lot of love coming back and forth that makes you feel good. And I
Mm-hmm.
think if you're in a business, you want that. You want to feel good when you wake up. You want to do a good thing for the community. And if you can help people out, there's nothing better that you can do.
And what are the biggest challenges to success that you're looking at now that maybe some of these bright and creative students can help with?
Well, as an entrepreneur, and I think the biggest challenge is myself. Getting over the hurdles of being you're the CEO and you're the worker, right? So you got to tell yourself what to do, and you got to be accountable for it, right? And at the same time, you're trying to manage everyone else. So the
Mhm.
multitasking and the synthesizing of the goals, I think, is the biggest challenge that I've faced because, you kind of know me a little bit is like, I find derivatives of this and that. And then, but focus, focus, focus is where I feel like my biggest challenge has been. And I think it's going to continue to be, straightening out that focus and working with the right team to keep that focus going on mission and on point is my biggest thing that I'm looking at personally. And I think
Yeah,
it's, we lead the company. So if I'm unfocused and I'm not supplying the right content, and if I'm not doing all the right things, then my team's going to fail.
yeah. Um, so, is there anything else about the business that we haven't touched on that you think would be useful for us to know?
Yeah, I think right now at this point, it's probably complicated enough, but I mean, I in my mind, we wanted to make a simple product that gives people access that might not have had access other ways. So that's really it. That's what we
Okay.
wanted to do, and I think we've made it to a certain level, but we need the help of others at this point to take it to the next level.
Yeah. All right. If you would do me a favor and hold up that card, I'm going to do a screen grab
Okay.
and let's see. It's reflecting right
Oh,
now, but don't cover up your face. I'm gonna hold it beside you or something like that.
okay.
Yeah. Turn over so I can see the artwork on the other side too. The lady, whoever that was, the singer. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right.
Yeah. And
Uh,
then also you can get this image off of our webpage as well.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we can share that information too.
All right. Well, Danco, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Thank
And
you.
again, I think the students are going to really be interested in what you're doing. And
I hope so.
I look forward to having you talk to the class in a couple weeks.
Oh, great. Me too, David. I think it's when you have this kind of a course, and I know your heart's in this not from just one perspective, you
Yeah,
really want to develop this for the betterment of the community.
yeah,
So
definitely, definitely.